beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel, Book Quiz with Giselle. And you know, we just had some vibes going on, some old school soca. I love calypso, I love soca music. I am a Trini to the bone. I am Trimbegonian. So you know, we have to get that up in the mix, right? I don't know about you, but sometimes when I read books, you know, you just like songs just come to mind and you just can't help but, you know, vibes to music while you read. It just makes the book enjoyable. And sometimes not all books have a playlist, and you create your own playlist in your mind. I'm like, yeah, this song would have been playing, yeah, I should have been feeling, you know, this vibes, feeling this song. So I'm like, you know, let's do things differently this week. So welcome and welcome back to my channel. If you have not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Right? Click that subscribe button down below. So today, right? Today we're going to talk about a series written by Stunich. Yeah, so she wrote the Havoc series, and some persons have been going crazy about this series. And I'm like, you know what, Giselle, you have to read this. So I read it, and I was able to read 2 books of the series before I couldn't read anymore. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I don't know. The first book was okay, right? It was okay, but it just had some aspects of the storyline that just was not for me, that I did not like. First off, people were raving about this book, and I went into this book blind because I'm like, I saw like people saying, you know, it's so good, check it out. I also saw other YouTubers talking about this book. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I went into it blind, and I had no idea of what I was in for. This is a Reverse Harem series. So this is the first time I'm reading anything with this sort of theme, and it was not what I expected. I was like, oh my god, like, Giselle, you reading this? And I'm like, yes, you're reading this. And I'm like, you're gonna finish reading this too? Yeah, so I'm like, okay. So we started. The book basically centers around a 17-year-old that has been bullied by this group called Havoc. And it's made up of 5 persons, and each of their names start with a particular letter, right? So H.A.V.C.O, and they make up this group, Havoc, and they basically bully persons throughout high school. So you already see like different teams coming out, bullying. It's a young adult, they're in high school, and oh yeah, it's a harem. So it centers on the 17-year-old who has been bullied by the Havoc group. In her sophomore year, she's now starting present day her senior year. Basically, her life is a living hell. Her sister committed suicide because she was raped by her stepdad. So she committed suicide. Her mother is just like, she's a waste of time. Her stepdad was never arrested or anything because he is a cop. Everything was just swept under the rug. And she has been having a difficult time coping with this, as well as the fact that her best friend called Havoc on her. So you have these 5 guys basically torturing and bullying her throughout her sophomore year. She begins her senior year, and she's like, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm really tired of this. I'm fed up of this. And you know what? She called Havoc. But there's always a price to pay. There is. And her price was that she would become the Havoc girl. So it's this one high school female who's 17 years, going to be 18 in like a few weeks or so, with these 5 guys. So I think it's Hal, Victor, Callum, Aaron, and Oscar. So it's these 5 guys, and she has been with Aaron. So Aaron was her boyfriend previously, and because her best friend called Havoc, they had to break up because now her boyfriend would be literally bullying her. So she's with these 5 guys. She's all over Aaron. She's like, okay, whatever. She makes the deal. She becomes the Havoc girl. And part of the deal is she has to marry one of them. She has to marry Victor, and so that he can get his inheritance, because his mother is from a wealthy family. I'm like, what kind of madness going on here? I'm like, okay. It had like so much things going on, but anyhow, she gave them her list of persons that she wants to get revenge on, including her stepdad, her best friend, a boy that she dated, and the principal. Because when she tried to, talk to the principal and let the principal know what was going on, he did not believe her. Yeah, so she got mixed up into this whole thing. My issue is the whole, she's attracted to Victor, she likes Victor, she gets engaged to Victor, but she's still with the other guys. And I understand that, yes, that's the whole plot. It is a reverse harem, but I had an issue with it because you saw where she really liked Victor and she knew she was going to be with Victor, but she still wanted to test the waters. She wasn't obligated to sleep with any of them, and that's the whole point. She wasn't obligated to sleep with them. And I'm like, if you don't have to, why are you? You know what? She just wanted to test the waters, and she just was probably always attracted to them. So she was like, here's my opportunity here, why not? There were other things going on, like she did get revenge on them. So they went around, they did beat up the guy that she dated that assaulted her, the best friend, it resulted in some type of high school war going on. You did have some violence going on, but I'm like, it's high school, and I don't know, it just didn't do it for me at all. Nothing. So the first book was okay. I'm like, okay, maybe she's just like this in the first book, but maybe in the second book we'd see, Bernadette, the heroine within the book. I honestly thought that you would see her and Victor's relationship, blossom and grow, but no, that didn't happen. So she slept with Hal, and then she slept with Oscar, and then she started to develop more feelings for Aaron. She started to get more attached to Aaron, and then she was looking at Callum, and I'm like, aren't you supposed to be with Victor? I'm like, aren't you supposed to be marrying Victor? I'm like, you don't have to test the waters, babe. You don't, it's not necessary. That wasn't part of the plan. You became their girl. You know what? Sometimes they need a female to help get them out of situations. I'm like, do your role. You don't need to be, sharing everything with everyone, especially with 5 guys that I could handle, 2. But 5 was kind of too much for me. The writing was good. I didn't have an issue with the writing. For me, it was just the plot, and after I read book 2, I just couldn't go on to book 3. They got back at the stepdad, I think they buried him alive or some kind of thing like that. The principal, the way that they got back that principal, these people, these teenagers, their minds though, the way their minds work, this Havoc gang, the way their minds work, I'm like, some of these things I would not have thought of in terms of getting revenge. I do like the revenge aspect of the book, but I just didn't like the reverse harem aspect of it. And that's on my part because I should have done research. Just because other people say it's good, I should not have gone into it blind, expecting certain things. I was like, I wasn't prepared for it. And again, it's on my part. Next time, I'm going to research every single book before I read it. Sometimes, yeah, I do go on Goodreads and I look at reviews, and I'm like, I would see the number of stars. I'm like, okay, people enjoyed this book. And I would read or go in depth into the reviews. And I did this with the Havoc series, and I'm like, and doing it again, sorry. So besides that aspect, the bullying, I can handle bullying, but what they did, I think, were beyond bullying. So when you're reading the book, the bullying isn't taking place presently, right? It's in the past. So she would have flashbacks and so on. I'm okay with flashbacks in a book, but what they did was torture, right? They were torture. They messed with this girl's mental health. They really did a number on her. And then she just, magically, she just goes into being their Havoc girl. Come on, man. Come on. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Do you feel the same way I did? Like, there's bullying and then there's bullying, torture bullying. My last point, certain things just didn't make sense. For instance, so you have these teenagers in a house doing whatever they need to do to pay the bills, and I'm like, so how come no one hasn't picked up on this? Like, how? Yeah, I understand this is fiction, but it was just like, so some things were too far-fetched for me. And I'm like, I love fantasy and paranormal and all these things. I read everything, but this was a bit far-fetched for me in terms of high school romance, reverse harem / bullying. It was just too much. And the fact is, they got away with the things that they did. Like I don't know. So yeah, there's a lot of, you know, reviews and comments, and persons are like raving, yeah, you need to read this, you need to read that. But for me, I didn't get it. And I'm sorry. That's just my opinion and how I feel. You let me know how you feel about it if you read it. I don't know if you had the same reaction as I did, but I didn't get hype. I didn't get it. All right. It's all about, you know, how I feel about books, opinions. Like, if I come across like a really good book, I will recommend it. If it's crap, I always say it's crap. Like, if I didn't enjoy it, I would say that I didn't enjoy it and why I did not enjoy it. But I know it will have other persons out there that will. Maybe I should read over this book, you know, maybe if I read it a second time, my opinion will change. And you know what, if it does, I would definitely come back on here and say, you know what, my opinion has changed and I love this book, and I would say why I love it, right? It's all about my honest opinions, my honest feelings, my honest thoughts. So leave a comment down below about how you felt about reading this book, about reading Havoc. Don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a comment, and hit that notification bell so you know every time I post a video. Thank you for watching, and look out for the next video.